if you're sailing at night. So Ptolemy the First isn't just the guy who founds the Great Library. He also is the guy who starts construction on the Great Lighthouse. The Great Lighthouse, by the way, you can kind of go to it today. So the Great Lighthouse came down after a series of really nasty earthquakes about 700 years ago. They started construction on it probably around 290 BC, and then it came down about 1,500 years later. Think about that. How long are our skyscrapers going to last? 250 years before the steel and glass gives out? I'm guessing. I don't know. It ain't 1,500 years. The Great Lighthouse was built because the way you got to Alexandria, if you're in Italy, is you hug the coast. Well, if you're hugging the coast, there's a lot of that movement, especially when you're in the Gulf of Sidr, right? And you're coming along the coast. And it adds literally 2 weeks to the journey. And it's dangerous because it turns out that a lot of the currents in that area aren't really great. If you're in what will eventually be Constantinople, you hug the coast because they didn't have ocean-going vessels. They couldn't go into the open sea. They didn't have the technology to do that. So the Great Lighthouse was the fix. The Great Lighthouse had an unusual little geographical feature. The prevailing winds, so it wasn't all the time, but the dominant winds blow that way, towards Crete. So as long as you're getting a nice average, if you have a large enough tower and you create a bunch of black smoke during the day, you can send a smoke signal that'll go out tens of miles. And if you're sailing from Crete straight across the sea, by the time you're about here, you'll start to see it, and then you can follow it in, which is cool. But it's not the interesting part.